My money and dick identical, shit is long. Dude, I was 17, had them singing my songs. Can't even wear trans, tans, bands, glossy tans, setting it up. Nico Hapuka bands, and all her friends are paying.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Danny James, and in this video you shall be learning how to turn a regular mixtape cover or a song cover, or whether it's an album art, into a 3D music video visualizer that you can use it to promote your music, whether it's on YouTube or any other platforms. A lot of things that you shall be learning from this video, you shall be able to implement it into other facets of editing. Now what you shall do, we shall start a new composition and try to redo what you just did here. So easily what I'll do, I'll come to my project bin and I'll start a new composition. Let's name this 3D visualizer. Now the first step you want to do, again, if you noticed, I'm using a 1080 by 1080p, so it's up to you to change it. But what I really found is that a 1080 by 1080p is usually the dimensions for a regular album cover or a song cover. So you can choose to change this, but it will sort of make your work a bit harder. So the best advice is to use a square composition, something which is uniform, and then you can have the duration as long as 10 seconds to 20, whatever it is. You might have to trim down later on, but let's first import our cover. So there's a bunch of covers which I did download, but we shall be redoing the one which I just did, and I'll scale it up so that it fits perfectly. Though this is not necessary, it's just a good step for whatever is coming ahead. I'll add one more, 108. Yeah, so 108 fits perfectly. Now the first step, you want to create masks. Essentially a mask is a cutout of sections of this cover. From the previous example which I just showed you, I cut out these different segments. If I click on them, you can see here I highlighted the left side of the cover, and I also highlighted the right part. I also went ahead and took this leg. I also went with the hand right here. Basically we're going to do the same things. So on this one, let's collapse this. Let's make a bunch of duplicates. Control D. You can do about 4 times and then hide the rest. So on this one, let's name it hand. Now we shall zoom in using your scroll wheel. Just zoom in, select a portion. Also make sure you're rendering at full so that you can see everything. Now it's very easy. Just pick the pen tool and draw around a certain area. So it doesn't have to be anything perfect. You're just going through, choosing. Like right now, we're just going around the hand. And I have a bunch of tutorials which I talk about masking, and especially with After Effects, it's very easy and faster because of the interface. But I won't cover this one in this video. I'll make sure to forward these parts whereby I'm creating these masks. Okay, so that's the first selection. I wasn't really specific. I just wanted to get a part of the hand, so I wasn't with the nitty-gritty of going and choosing here and here. It's just to get something going. Now I'll hide that layer, go to the next one, and then you can choose another part. For instance, let's go now with the leg. Okay, so we shall rename this. Just hit enter to rename and name this the leg. So you can pick whichever part you want. It's not necessarily what I'm saying. This is just a guide. So I'll just do a quick mask once again. So now we have the second mask. We already did that in just a couple of seconds. Okay, now I'll make another mask. Maybe at this time I'll choose something else. Now this time I'll choose the left side of the screen. Let's just do this real fast. I'll hide these two other layers, and let's name this left side. Essentially what we're doing is just subdividing your screen into portions. Now the left side, I'll have to cut a mask through this area. And again, remember we just made a mask on the legs, and maybe we don't want to repeat and mask the same thing. So I'll show you what you'll do in a second. So let's just create this mask. Okay, I'll just go through the legs. I won't really look at how perfect it is. I'll show you there's a small fix which you can do to this. Okay, and then you'll go above the screen and then we shall cut it somewhere around here. Let's just go with this. Then let's go through the hair. We are done doing the third mask, which is the left side of the screen. Now what I really meant is, let me re-enable this leg. So let's say I didn't want parts of this mask to interfere with the parts of the leg. So what you can quickly do on the leg, just click M and then you'll get the mask. Control C to copy that mask, and then you can paste it on this left side, and then you'll have that as the mask 2. Now what you want to do on this mask 2, you want to make sure it goes to subtract, so that whatever happens, this mask doesn't appear, this portion of the leg doesn't appear in this part, just in case. Now we shall go on the right hand side, just rename this right side, okay, and then I'll zoom in. Let's start about here. Right here, once again, now that I'm making this fourth mask, I'm not sure where the left side went up to. What I really need to do, I'll just come and continue doing my mask as usual, as if I don't know. So you can overlap if you have to, because remember we also highlighted the hand, okay? And I'll show you how this works. I'll go around this, and then since we did highlight the hand, I don't really want to be specific with these parts of the hand, so I'll just come down and then I'll connect my mask. This is a good thing in case you might get confused. We have this mask and you also have this hand. Again, we shall do the same thing we did previously. We'll go to our hand, we'll hit M, copy that mask, come to the right side. Now this one, paste that mask. Let us hide the hand again, and then hit M, and then on the second mask you can put it on subtract. So whatever happens in this mask, let me just click somewhere random. Whatever happens on this mask, we have nothing that includes the hand, and that really relieves us of a lot of hard work. Now I'll enable all other layers, and then you can see what's left with. We've masked all these areas except the middle part. Now again, what we'll do for this one, we'll want to name this everything else, because we would have wanted maybe a lineup, but that's a lot of work. Let's name this other one everything else. Now on this layer, the last layer which we've labeled it everything else, we need it to have everything but what we've masked. So I'll hit M on the first layer, copy that mask, and then I'll paste it here and then put it on subtract. Also, this is important, you need to go step by step. Don't try to copy all the masks at once, you might get confused. So we've removed the one which has the hand. Let's go to the one with the leg, copy that mask, hit Ctrl V to paste that mask, hit M, and then put that mask on subtract. As I said, I'm also insisting that you go one by one. Don't try to copy all the masks at once, you might get confused. Now let's go on this mask which has the left side. So we'll hit M, and then we shall pick the first mask, the one which we originally made at first. Only copy that first mask which is on add, Ctrl C, and then come back on this one, Ctrl V. If I hit M, put it on subtract. Now the only thing that is remaining is getting rid of this right hand side, so we shall do the same thing. Hit M, this one, copy the first mask only, then collapse it, come back here, paste it, and then put that mask on subtract. And now if I do this, we can see we've highlighted everything except everything else, and now they should all be piecing back together like a good puzzle. Now that we're done with the first phase, which is the design phase, we've been able to highlight parts and select the parts which we want to take into our 3D space. Now the second part of the tutorial is whereby we start navigating through the 3D space. And the first thing we shall do now, click here to switch between modes, and you need to find this 3D. We need to enable 3D for all the layers. Just click and drag down to make all the selections 3D. And afterwards, you want to create a new camera. If you're navigating through 3D space, you'll need a camera. So let's name this main camera. Now, if you're familiar or if you're not, the camera controls are here. Once you are highlighted on your main camera, you can press C. Now these are the main controls that you need. You need this one, and also this one to zoom in, and you need to be able to also rotate around, or to orbit around. That's the word, it's orbiting around. Now I'll reset all the parameters for this camera for anything, and then I want to us to view these items on this camera control. This one I can orbit around, and you can see these items are on a 3D space. Now if I click on one selection, let's say it's the hand. Now when I press P on this hand, you can see I have x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. If I try to adjust the z-axis, you can see that selection goes behind or forward, and the same thing would apply if I press P on the leg, it would move back and forth. If we do it like this, you can also see that those items are a bit behind. Okay, let's reset all our parameters. Let's reset also the position of this hand so that it's where it was at default. It was at 0, and also this one at 0. Now one thing that you'll need an alternative camera to help you view your items as you place them. So I'll duplicate this camera, Ctrl D, and then I'll hide our main camera, and on this one we'll name this alternate camera. Now with our alternate camera, we shall orbit around like this, and then I can also zoom a little behind like that, and I can also view these items here. Now what I want us to do, we need to click on all our layers that have our mask on. I'll also give them a different color so that you can easily differentiate them. Okay, so I've given them a green label. The secret here is to make these items move through 3D space, and since now we've orbited around, it's advisable if you can come to this view where you're able to see them on a 3D plane, and then hit P on your keyboard to bring up keyframes for position. Enable that keyframe for position, and then we shall go back to our selection tool, and then we want to move these items a little bit behind. If you're familiar with these controls, you can have 2 views whereby you can see where the camera is at. You can have 4 of them, but I want to make it a bit simple for you. Just view it through here from the camera. Let's just tilt a bit behind, and then back with our selection tool, I'll hold shift, and since we've selected on everything, I'll drag them all behind. Just hold shift so that it doesn't drop down on the z-axis, so I'll just drag them behind. And now if I come back to my camera, if I see these items, they are a little bit behind. You can also zoom out using your scroll wheel, and as soon as they are that behind, you can also press C and use these and reach them. You can also push them back, but make sure to use your selection tool, hold shift and push them back. And then you can go a few seconds in front, start dragging, and then hold shift so that they maintain these axes, and then let them all come to the other side. You can see I'm intentionally making sure that they go a couple of centimeters away from the screen, going back. Now if we view these, this is how they move. Like that. You can change the view. Since we have our camera controls, just click on C to pan around and see everything. Okay, if I play it again, it's as if they are coming a little bit behind, coming forward. I'll switch again to half view so that you can render these faster. Now the trick here is to make sure that all of these items come towards the camera at different speeds. And how do you do that? It's just by changing the second keyframe, and make sure the last one, which has everything else, comes last, like that. If we start again, let me just drop these, and then let us change our view. Okay, if we play it now, you can see it's almost this illusion which is happening. These items are coming towards the camera from some distance behind. So this is the only reason why we need the alternate camera, is so that you can view these items. Now I'll hide that camera and come back to our main camera, drop down all these details so that under transform you can see everything. Now we shall start from a central point. Let me make sure to have everything closer here. Now I'll press C again to move closer to them, C again, make sure it fits perfectly, and then C again to zoom into just a bit. So on our first keyframe of the main camera, make sure to be almost zoomed in as if it's a perfect cover so that no one can tell. You can jump just a few seconds, just a few frames or seconds, and then you can adjust your camera controls. You can choose to either pan around. You can also choose to zoom in. So personally, I will zoom in just using this control. And then I'll push these 2 keyframes to the 8-second mark. So that's one thing that you can do. Remember, all these other items are also coming towards the camera. So if you want them to come a bit earlier, you can also push these keyframes. Yeah, so the trick is you're trying to push these items towards the camera, and also you're trying to zoom in using the camera. Now that we've pushed these keyframes in, I'll push them just a bit because I actually liked the outcome. Hold control while clicking on your keyframes and then zoom in, and then you can bring them where you want so you can see what's really happening. Once you're done, you can export this media, take it into your Adobe Premiere Pro, and then you can loop it. A loop should look like this. It should come in and then out. Now we can add effects onto these layers individually as they are. So what I'll do, I have already searched a glow here. I'll add the glow maybe to the right hand side. You can use the inbuilt glow from After Effects, but I prefer to use a glow from the Red Giant Universe plugin. So I'll put the glow right there, and you can see what immediately happens. It gives this a unique feel to it. So if I disable it, you can see what it gives us. You can adjust the color for the glow if you want a specific color. Now, once that is set up, you can do this with other items. First of all, before I do that, I'll add keyframes for intensity right here, and then I'll press U on this so that I can see what I'm doing. I'll go a few keyframes. You can use page up and page down, just a couple of frames, and then I can have the intensity go back to 0. And then you can go a few frames, just you can use your eyes to measure, go back to, was it 1? Yeah, it was 1. So I'll zoom in here, and then from this you can copy these keyframes. I can go a few here, Control C, Control V, and then now I can Control C all those keyframes, Control V, and then just line them up, Control C. Now on all of them, come here and paste it. This will give it a very different feeling. It will be changing like that. The intensity drops as it increases. Now I shall copy this effect and put it on this left hand side, this item. So you can paste it right there. I'll change the colors also. Let me go with some yellow tone and maybe white. And then if I press U, I'll also get those keyframes that I just established. Now if I play it, you can see what happens. Again, if you don't want this to be so predictable, you can just offset those keyframes. Just make sure this one comes a bit later. Well, the second one for the right hand side, well, it has transitioned from high intensity to low. Now this one starts from low to high, just by offsetting the keyframes. These are the small tweaks that I say that you can also apply them onto other facets of video editing, not just this one. Yeah, okay, so that's good. We've already added 2 effects on that one. Now our main body, which is the one which has the artist 42 Doug, what you can do, I can see he's wearing something bluish. Let me disable all other layers first, but don't disable the camera or else you won't be able to see. I'll bring in a simple color change effect. I've talked about this change color effect. I've talked about this but with Adobe Premiere. Just drop it on your clip and then you'll be able to change one specific color. So let's pick this bluish, which is on the jeans, and then let's use hue. Now if I come here to a hue transform, if I increase this value, you can see what happens. Those colors change. So that's what we really want. So we will enable a keyframe for hue, then here we'll press hue. go to the very end, maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds, and have the hue rotate as much as it can. So let's look at this. Yeah, and if you're like me and you like more colors, you can also keyframe the saturation. As it goes on, make sure the saturation also increases. Maybe put it up to 50. I'll hit you so that I can see that keyframe. For saturation, I'll push it up to here. Now if I play this, it will have the same hue transformation, but the colors will be more pronounced. So let me enable all other layers, and then now we can watch this. Also a little detail that you could maybe add, I can see you might not like having the black space right behind and all that, and since I can see we have some money on this video, I'll import a dollar note just like this one, and then I'll drag it to the very bottom. I'll enable it for 3D, and then I'll hide the main camera, go to the alternate camera as I showed you. Now rotate, zoom out, and you can see it's right in front of everything else. So I'll hit P and drag it behind, so I can come right here and make sure that it stays behind everything else. And now when it's there, we can also scale it, and then hopefully when you view it through the main camera, it should be all right. So let's scroll. Yeah, we no longer have the blank space. You can see the reason why you can feel like it's zooming in and we haven't added any scaling properties is because the camera is moving towards the dollar note. If I can show you, if I go to the two views, you can see how the camera is moving and where the items are. The camera keeps on going towards these items. Yeah, so that's one thing you can do in order to not have that black space right behind. And that's generally it. I hope you've enjoyed this video and learned something from it. In case you have any questions, queries, or suggestions, kindly leave them on the comment box down below, and I'm happy to interact with you guys. My name is Danny James. See you in the next one. Cheers.